Lake Wales. Welcome to episode number 4 of The Mayor and the Manager. This is a podcast that is created by the media ministry of High Point Church, Providence Voice, and we have created it just for you, for the citizens of the great city of Lake Wales, trying to help you stay up to date on what's happening in your town and to help you become more familiar with the people who you elected and the people you pay to make the decisions that affect you and affect your city. We also want to give you opportunity to ask questions that you might have. We know as we're discussing these in these first few episodes, it's just James and I spending time talking about what we felt like were some premier issues. But in the future episodes, we are going to respond to your questions. So again, I would encourage you to just send your questions in, and actually that will begin in our next episode. So my name is Jack Hilligoss. I'm the mayor of Lake Wales, and I'm joined again by our city manager, James. James, thanks for being a part of this with me.
Sir, thank you, Mayor.
And we've been spending time talking about the renaissance that we're experiencing in Lake Wales. We've talked about, the Wales Built Hotel, about the Lake Wales Connected Plan, about how we're managing growth. And I think I mentioned earlier that one of the things I'm very proud of, the work that you've done, the work that we've done, is that we've been proactive with growth. So one of the things that last year I was the most excited about is we completed our Parks and Rec and adopted our Parks and Rec master plan. And everybody knows that for the quality of life we're trying to create in this city and a garden and the crown jewel and the ridges, we want to have an attractive, well-done parks system. So I think in the city of Lake Wales, I may be off by one. I think we've got 7 parks. They're rated differently. We've got neighborhood parks. We've got parks like Kiwanis that people come in. We're wrestling with the term. It may be regional parks. Anyway, we invested big time in a good Parks and Rec master plan. So talk to us about that. Talk to us about the plan and how it came together.
Absolutely. Again, it's just part of our, kind of proactive planning effort. We looked at all the city's parks and open spaces and said, okay, are they meeting our residents' needs? That was the question. Yeah. And then are they going to meet our future residents' needs? And are they going to meet our visitors' needs? And so we went through a pretty comprehensive process, very similar to Lake Wales Connected and Lake Wales Envisioned, whereby, we engaged the public and said, okay, what do you guys want? What would you like to see here? And so, we went through, all the city's parks and open spaces and came up with, and now this was a process.
Yes.
This was a couple of years of work.
I know. It started early in my tenure as the mayor, yeah.
A couple of years of work. And so what we ended up with is a beautiful, I think, master plan to make our parks really some of the most premier parks, certainly in this part of the county.
Yeah, yeah. Now, when we say parks and rec, they're under the same heading. There's nuances of difference between the two. So let's just pause for a second. And again, in the future episodes, we're going to be bringing in different city leaders. So Stephanie, her name is wrong. Lutton, sorry. I always want to say Edwards for some reason. Yeah. Well. Stephanie Lutton is our current director, and I'm sure Stephanie would come in. So I'm going to come back to parks, but really some really innovative and interesting things that have happened in the city rec-wise. Like year before last, we assumed control of what used to be the YMCA, and also some new activities and possibilities along the trail in around Lake Wales. Talk to us about that.
So you're right. A couple of years ago, we assumed control of the YMCA and renovated the entire building. And, brought in all new equipment and created the Family Recreation Center. And now we're offering, good gosh. But by the way, there are more members than I think have ever attended the place.
It's up over 1,000, isn't it?
Oh, it's well over 1,000. Yeah. Just memberships. Yeah, for sure. And we're offering all sorts of classes, things that quite honestly aren't offered elsewhere. Right. We're doing even painting classes.
Yeah.
In addition, everything else, Zumba and the weightlifting. You can go learn how to swim and learn how to paint and everything else out of that rec center. So we're extremely proud of the work that Stephanie and her staff have done at that recreation center. And they're always looking at new and innovative ways to serve the public. Mm-hmm. While we're in this interim period before we can fully start implementing this recreation master plan, which, by the way, we won't get it all done during, our tenure, yours and mine, right?
Yeah.
It's today's estimates are $120 million, for example, to get it all done. But we can certainly get started and make some significant improvements so that the next generation can pick up, and finish them off.
But if it all gets enacted, it's going to be one of the most impressive networks of parks anywhere.
I believe so. And that's right in our DNA here in Lake Wales. Yeah. So Stephanie, her staff have done some pretty innovative things. Just one example is we were, so down at Lake Wales Lake, for example, near the boat ramp, we have a kayak vending machine. I don't know how many of our citizens are aware of that. You can go scan a QR code and it spits out a kayak and you can go kayak.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It's wild. What a cool idea. And just recently we're piloting, and we might be the first. I think she told me the first in their company. We might be the first in the state of Florida for this one, where we've taken that concept. And she went back and asked them and said, can we do this with other sports related equipment? And they said, sure. What do you want to do? So now we've created down in Crystal Lake Park, we've got a vending machine for things like, cornhole boards and cornhole bags.
I wasn't even aware of
tennis rackets. Yeah. So we've just launched that fairly recently.
Yeah. I've been to a few cities that the cornhole thing is just, that's like pickleball. It's just taken over. And cities have this idea of you putting cornhole up, but what I've seen is these permanent cornhole structures. And then what happens is they deteriorate and the bags get bad and things. So this seems to be maybe a better approach to that.
We'll find out.
Yeah. I mean, this is high level stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, that's
right. So I just remember when the ribbon cutting, because boy, when the YMCA left, that was kind of a shock. It was a little bit of a tremor to our city because that building has been important. It's been kind of a community hub for years. And the response to that was just, I think, spoke very well of our city leadership, and especially of Stephanie and her crew. The fact that our city took it on, and I remember the day we did the ribbon cutting. It is it's really nice. It's every bit as nice or nicer than any fitness center you could go be a part of. The exercise area was incredible.
Oh, where can you go and take a class and work out? And we've got, Child Watch program whereby, parents can bring their children in, and we've got trained staff there that can watch your kids, and the parents can go work out. We do things like Parents Night Out. Yeah. Come drop your kids off on Friday night and go out for a couple hours and come back and pick them up. And those are the types of benefits that we offer the members. And, and one of the key benefits is, we subsidize the memberships.
Yeah.
If you live inside the city limits of Lake Wales, then you get a 50% discount on the membership of that facility because your tax dollars are what's funding it, in the first place.
You're not going to get a better deal than that.
You're not going to get a better deal.
And I just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about that because, I think that the building's always been good for the community, but not nearly this beautiful and not nearly this well run. So it's been a big net positive for us. What could have been a really bad thing, it could have really just set up there and become a problem for us. Instead, it's become a big positive for this community.
Yeah, it sure has. I agree with that.
Okay, well, let's move back then to talking about parks more than the recs. I just felt like that needed to be talked about.
Great.
But this park master plan, it's an awesome document. We just a minute ago talked about it. When it gets fully implemented, we're going to have the nicest park system. So what do you think? If you're like me, I open that thing up and I start going through it. What parts of it, if you were just a citizen of Lake Wales and you saw it, would you really be excited about?
All of it. All of it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I think is going to happen in the near term.
Sure.
So we've talked in the other episodes about expanding trail network.
Yes.
And so if any of you all have missed that, we're you're going to continue to see new trails popping up.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. There you go. You're going to continue to see that. So even this year, you'll see more multimodal trails under construction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a lot of overlap in these plans, right? So common themes, walkability, right? We've talked about that a lot.
Peddlers and pedestrians.
I don't know why I can't remember that, but so you'll see that reflected in our Lake Wales Connected plan. You'll see it in our Lake Wales Envision plan, and you'll see it in our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. When we surveyed the public doing this Parks Master Plan, I was a little surprised. We asked folks what they wanted, and I thought the overwhelming majority were going to come back and say things like, "We need a giant stadium, for X sport or whatever," and that wasn't the case. Trails. Trails was by far the priority for the citizens of Lake Wales, which, by the way, we are already doing, but it just confirmed. It confirmed and validated the direction that we were headed.
Yeah. So just to rewind, I mean, with what's already happening in the city, it's not too far, not in the too distant future, where you're going to, from just about any point in Lake Wales, you're going to be able to walk out your front door and either walk or jump on a bicycle and get anywhere you want to get to fairly conveniently around here.
That's right.
Yeah. So that was the top priority you said that came back as we surveyed the citizens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the part that gets you all excited too.
It does. It does get me excited. I love it. I don't know, certainly that, trails, we're not, we didn't invent this. We aren't the first city to come in and, kind of want to build trails. Everybody's kind of doing that now. Right. What's going to be different about us is that our trail network is going to be so comprehensive. I have not seen another city that's doing a trail network as comprehensive as ours, right? They'll have a trail here and they'll have one there, but not an interconnected network they're going to get that can actually literally be used for transportation. So it is pretty exciting.
It is. Now, I'm going to tell you that just like a kid that in a toy store, I want the most expensive stuff. I don't want to save up for it. So I'm just going to preface all this by saying all of these are conceptual things, but I mean neat stuff that's in there, like an amphitheater down by the lake. Boy, wouldn't that be an awesome thing? And I saw paddle boat rentals on Crystal Lake and splash pads. How long have we been talking about that in the city of Lake Wales?
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
So all of those things are we're out there. We're thinking about them. It's so easy when you get into an election cycle to promise everyone splash pads everywhere. But we all know that takes a great deal of planning.
It takes a great deal of planning and financial resources.
Yes. Yeah. So, and planning is a part of securing the financial resources.
Absolutely. And I think, everything starts with the plan. I like to do plans on the front end. And it just, number one, it makes things seem more realistic and achievable, right? And it gives us a roadmap. Right. And then we just kind of set the work. And it's not just this idea floating around, kind of in the universe. But I think we start with a plan, and that's kind of the first step.
I think that the Parks and Rec Master Plan is available for download on the city's website. So I would encourage everyone that's listening to this to go to the City of Lake Wales website and download your copy of the Parks and Rec Master Plan. It's a beautiful, exciting document. And like our city manager was saying, now from soup to nuts, you're looking at over $100 million, and you're looking at probably a couple of decades of work. But we're already getting started, and I think we'll get it done. And if you see that, you'll have a new excitement about the future of the city. But let's talk about the fact that, and we've seen this over and over, we've talked about the grants that have been coming our way to a great extent, because of the planning that's been done. So specific to your number one thing that you're excited about, trails. We've planned this out. We're not doing this haphazardly. So talk about the benefits grant-wise that have come to our way in the last few years when it comes to trails.
Oh, gosh. Just about every trail that we've constructed or are designing right now has at least been partially funded by some form of grant, quite honestly. The state of Florida has been really, really great to work with. And I think every trail has received some form of grant to at least help us construct it. So all the costs are offset. And then we talked in episode
1 about grants.
No, about the impact fee, multimodal impact fee. That was in 2.
Yeah.
And so now we've got grants. We supplement those with our multimodal impact fee.
Right.
And then the other thing is, and not just related to the trails, but all the park systems. For anyone that doesn't know, every new home that gets built in Lake Wales also pays a parks impact fee.
Okay.
So all the new residents and all the new homes are actually helping, in addition to the ad valorem property taxes they're bringing in, they're paying impact fees that are going to help fund our growing park system.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that growth and we didn't have those impact fees, it would be very difficult, if impossible, to implement this Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
So that comes back to the saying, maximize the benefits, minimize the impacts.
Absolutely.
Growth either happens to you or it can happen for you.
That's exactly right.
So we're harnessing for the benefits of our citizens out of every new home that comes up out of the ground around here.
That's right.
Is another step closer to capturing this quality of life plan that we have.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's the ideal situation. So in addition to the trails that, again, we'll have at least a couple more trail connections constructed this year, while we've got a couple more in design. The big, one of the funded projects that were approved in the budget this year is the complete renovation of Kiwanis Park.
Yeah.
Which next to the multi-sport complex off of Hunt Brothers Road, it's our busiest and most used park in the entire city of Kiwanis. And so it's going to get a huge makeover this calendar year. As a matter of fact, the City Commission's just approved a contract with a firm to start that design build process. Yeah. And so what you'll see this year is Kiwanis Park is going to become a premier park with all new facilities and even a trail. So I think our folks will see that implemented as it was outlined in that master plan this calendar year.
That's going to be exciting. And Kiwanis Park, like you said, it's hopping. It's always busy.
It is.
And part of, there's sports teams that use it, but part of it is the skate park that was established. That's right. And those kind of activities, unique activities that you build parks around, attract people. So you mentioned along with that our second one is our soccer complex. So I know we've got some improvements coming there that are pretty immediate, but I also know that we've got big plans for things that can happen around that park. And I think you actually dropped this line in our last episode, BMX. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about sports tourism and about how the soccer complex can all be a part of that.
Absolutely. So we've got currently the second largest youth soccer association in the entire county, believe it or not. Yeah. We have folks that come from, Winter Haven and Haines City and Dundee and Frostproof and everywhere around the county that their kids want to play soccer. Well, they come to Lake Wales, and that's great. Yeah, we love it. Mm-hmm. But the challenge there is that the place, we only have so many fields. There's only so much field space, right. And you've got other sports now utilizing these athletic fields aside from soccer. So we've known for quite a while we need to expand that. We need to expand that complex just for the current users and as our city grows. So some of the elements within that plan include increasing the fields out there in the field space. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot more. We're looking at, adding additional, baseball facilities, for example, out there. And then the what I think is one of the coolest parts, and the City Commission has already approved this contract and it's in design now. We are designing a professional BMX facility out at that complex. Right. Which, folks may be scratching their heads and, and asking, why BMX? Mm-hmm. Maybe a lot of kids around here aren't into BMX. Mm-hmm. Well, that's why there's an opportunity. Right. We we've done some market studies on sports and in the area. We don't want to compete with Auburndale and their Lake Myrtle complex and Lakeland and these huge cities for, again, soccer, for example. We want to provide for our residents. But as we think about sports tourism, and I did this with my kids. My daughter was a soccer player. She played in college. She started when she was 4 years old.
Yeah.
And we spent, most of her life until a couple of years ago traveling around literally the country, playing soccer.
Yeah. And
there's hotel stays. And when you're out of town, you're spending money, you're shopping, dining, et cetera. So sports tourism's great, but not in a manner that takes away from our residents' needs.
Yes.
If we develop a complex strictly for, the soccer and the football, well, we'd have to keep it programmed constantly with out-of-town teams and sports. While it's great for the local economy, it's not so great for our citizens.
Yeah,
now they're crowded. They're crowded out, right? And that's what happens a lot of places. So I've never thought that was a good idea. So doing like we do here in Lake Wales, we said, okay, what can we do that no one around us is doing?
Yeah. And
so after doing some feasibility study and some market research, we found out that no one's serving the BMX community.
Okay.
And there's a USA BMX is a professional BMX entity or federation, and they've partnered with us. Their designer is literally designing the complex for us. And what we're going to be able to do is hopefully construct a facility that is, number one, going to bring in tourism and tourism dollars without taking away from our local residents.
Right, not crowding them out.
And the beauty of it is the footprint is relatively small.
Yeah.
Right? These soccer fields take up a lot of space. Yeah. Or these multi-sport fields, they call them. Well, the BMX takes up some space, but proportionately, it's a lot less.
Right.
So that maximizes the rest of our land to be used for the sports that our citizens like and use, and it'll bring in serious tourism dollars as well as create an opportunity for the locals here in Polk County that maybe have not been engaged in BMX to be able to get involved.
Right.
So it's a great opportunity, and so it'll be costly. One of the things that I think two funding sources, quite honestly, I think that could assist us would be to partner with the Board of County Commissioners, because after all, our citizens and the folks coming to the facility are all county residents.
Yes.
We've got, I think, over 60% of the users of our current soccer complex on Hunt Brothers Road are coming from elsewhere in the county. Yeah. 60% are coming from outside of, Lake Wales. These are county residents. So I think just the expansion of this complex could certainly, or will certainly benefit the residents, other residents in the county. Right. And so we're hoping the Board of County Commissioners may partner with us to expand that complex. We think it's a wise use of their tax dollars, wise use of our tax dollars, and I think we could do it together. Yeah. And then there's a great opportunity for us to partner with the Tourism and Development Council. Yeah, which is the Tourism and Development Council is a Polk County organization. Polk County organization. Their funding's a little bit different. So when we talk about the tourism, there's a bed tax. That people pay every night. You pay for a hotel room. There's a bed tax that's assessed, and then it's collected by the county and then redistributed back through the Tourism and Development Council. And their job is to get more people in Polk County, more heads in beds. Yeah. So they've got some funding sources available to help, and they've assisted many of the other cities here in the county, for example, Lake Myrtle Complex and Auburndale, because they see as that bed tax money comes in, they can reinvest it back in that complex and then bring more tourism to Polk County. Yeah. So we think there's an opportunity to partner with the TDC to help us construct that BMX facility. And we certainly believe there's an opportunity for us to partner with the Board of County Commissioners to expand the existing complex as well. So we're hoping that, everyone's agreeable to that and that they'll work with us. Great. So we're doing, people are helping us with design. We've
always had a pretty good working relationship with our county, so we're hoping that that will come to pass, and that would be an exciting development for the city. And again, what I like about it, where I don't know, I shouldn't say this. I will just say that what I like about it is that, again, we're thinking about our citizens. We're thinking about the people that live in Lake Wales. And we're trying to capture an opportunity in a way where they don't pay a price. Like you said, Lake Wales has a very active soccer program. They have a very active Little League. I mean, both of those are crazy. 2 football programs that are for kids around here. Yep. So there's all kinds of demand on our fields already. We don't want them to lose that. So the thought is, let's create something that doesn't take away from them, but we're all going to benefit from having that.
Absolutely.
Fantastic stuff. So again, I think that I would just encourage everyone, please do take the time to look at this Parks and Rec master plan. As we said, it's a big dream. It's a long-term dream. It's a generational dream. But we just want you to know that if you're in Lake Wales right now, you're here at the right time. We call it the crown jewel of the ridge. Things are happening here that we've been hoping for a long time. And you're right on the cusp, the front cutting edge of what is going to become and is quickly becoming one of the most beautiful communities here in the state of Florida. And this Parks and Rec plan is a part of that. So read it. And then I would encourage you, as we've said at the end of every one of these first few episodes, please send your questions. And we promise you that in future episodes, we will dedicate some of our time to addressing questions about these issues that you send our way. So that brings us to the end of episode number 4. I hope you've enjoyed it. James, thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Mayor and the Manager. The goal of this podcast is to keep you up to date on all that is happening in the great city of Lake Wales. To that end, we would love to take questions from you and take the time to answer them. So if you have any questions, just click on Submit a Question in the description above this podcast.